Hello there everybody, this is Alex from Hardcore Guides, bringing my guide for Dante's Inferno on Infernal difficulty. Today we are doing part 11, entitled Treachery. This is the last and final level, and I had actually mistaken how many enemies were going to be in this one. I kind of forgot that there were actually quite a few. And this is of course a new enemy, but it's not really something that you fight. I think they're just called giants. And they just kind of are more, environmental hazards. So this first part, this first fight is going to be really annoying. However, you do have a checkpoint, so whenever you do happen to die here, which might be often if you're like me, then that's something to kind of keep in mind, is at least you'll have a checkpoint, so you're fine. So when it comes to the wind blowing, I'm going to give you a piece of advice now. If he starts to blow, wind, try to stay toward, where those icicles are up there, like near his head. Try to stay up there as much throughout this fight as you possibly can. And on top of that, if you happen to be stuck inside the wind blowing here, then what I recommend doing is just jumping and then using the cross attack to kind of just save yourself from potentially, falling any faster. And this is just really damn irritating to deal with, but the best advice I can give, is just, you're just going to have to practice this one, because this one's just a nightmare to go through. And trying to get these guys to fall off the cliff is just already hard enough, so just stay as far back from that cliff as you possibly can. If you're getting too close, yeah, jumping across could kind of keep you afloat, but it won't save you if you're that close. So that's something else to kind of keep in mind too, is you want to always make sure you know when he's going to blow, because he always blows at like a specific time. It's like every 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever it is. So just try not to get too cocky with this fight. Use cross attacks quite often, and just keep your distance as much as you possibly can. Don't try to get too greedy. Get in there and try to go for those wing clip moves either, because you might get stuck in that animation. And what I mean by getting greedy and going in, I mean like, doing it pretty much right before he blows wind. So this is really just a case of just in the back of your mind, you have to be thinking at all times, okay, you have to be thinking like, okay, I know he's going to blow wind soon, so I got to be careful, and then I just got to jump back there as fast as I possibly can, and then just shoot cross attacks at the other enemies. Luckily, there's not too many enemies that do spawn in that section, but they're just annoying enough that they know that they're annoying enough, combined with the environmental hazard, that it just makes it really just obnoxious. And, of course I use divine armor to kind of just get through some of that without taking too much damage. Or really getting hit at all. But yeah, at this point in time, you should be prepared for the worst to come. That's what we're going to talk about. I have the Scythe attack upgrade relic. I have the Cross relic for attack damage on that. I have the defense relic that you get no matter what. And I have Chiako's Bile, which I only ever remember the name of because that's easy enough to remember. It's the mana regeneration one that actually makes it to where you gain magic as you go through. But look at my list of upgrades here if you need help. I have Divine Armor 3, and on top of that, I have all the two defense upgrades itself. And I seem to have, I think, one mana upgrade left to go. I think looks like just one more left. I would highly advise having at least 2 left over, but one works too. Be careful on this part. Wait for him to blow wind first, and then go down, and then shoot through the grapple section here. So coming up, I'm just gonna fast forward to this next section. There's no need to just watch the entire thing. It's incredibly boring. It takes forever, and I really want people to see how I walk through it to find the correct path. My best advice for finding the correct path is to essentially, as you saw right there, you kind of like feel it out is what I want to say. Feel it out for like a few seconds. Like once you start learning how long it takes for the thing to fall down, because you saw the other one I just touched, it didn't fall down instantly. These things don't break instantly. You have to be on them long enough. So make sure that if you're trying to find the direct path, and you're for sure that one of these are going to fall, then just stay on it for just a little bit longer than you probably think you normally would, and then get off as quickly as possible. And another thing too is if you really wanted to, you could just break all these pieces to get here faster. And by the way, you might think like, oh, that was fast. That was really fast. Man, there's no way in hell that whole platform walking thing is that slow. I don't know what the fuck you're on, but you're totally off the chain on that one, because that's long as shit. And I mean, that is long as shit. Like, really, really long. Stupidly long. Not only does the game test your skills, but they also test your damn patience, too. So here's the last chain of Judecca, I think it is, and now we're going to fight the final boss. So let's go explain how this works. Immediately, I start off with cross attacks just to do some extra bit of damage. Make sure you jump over that. He's not going to do too many slams at the beginning. He's going to go for like one slam. Now, when it comes to hitting him in the chest, you do a lot more damage. And this is also the time I want to explain real quick that I don't have the 5th upgrade, or the 5th attack for the cross attacks. I just only have the subsequent 4 attacks. The reason being is so I can attack him faster. Because the animation on the 5th one, it takes too long to go back through. Once he pushes you back with wind, you're going to want to dodge to like the right or the left to stay away from the tornadoes. Now, this fight works in phases, so every phase will gradually get harder to go through. And whenever he's doing those multi-slam attacks, just try to like time your jumps, jump over the appropriate ones. And then if he's starting to do like multi-slam attacks, you're going to want to be using aerial attacks to kind of keep yourself in the air. If the tornadoes are getting too close to you, equip Divine Armor. Because Divine Armor will protect you from... You'll still take damage from the tornadoes, but it'll protect you from taking full damage, which is actually kind of helpful. And if you have the patience for this fight, if you wait out him doing all of his attacks, you wait out through all the different attacks that he does, he'll eventually slam his hand on the ground, giving you the ability to go up there and potentially, you know, do some extra bit of damage. And also try, whenever you get the chance, if you have the opportunity, stay as close to him as you possibly can whenever he gets knocked back and his chest exposed, because you want to get as many hits in as much and as fast as possible. So something I want to talk about is these slam attacks, I think, do break through Divine Armor. I think you can still take damage even with Divine Armor, so you still want to jump them. Now, again, the tornadoes, they still will hurt you with Divine Armor on, but the cool thing about it is, if you have Divine Armor on, or even not, you take more damage if you don't. The thing is, you'll get launched in the air, and then you press X to jump from the tornado. And the cool thing about that, though, is you can actually do some more attacks on his head while in the air. It kind of keeps you in the air for a little bit longer. And it keeps you away from his ground slam attacks. Most of this fight is phase-based, and he has relatively the same attack patterns for the most part. He just goes on for much longer once you get to like the last phase, which I think is this one. So just keep in mind that they're going to get gradually harder. And that's something to kind of keep out, keep a lookout for. This attack right here, it's nothing. It doesn't really do much. I don't think it does that much damage anyway. Now, granted, you can be on like the left or right side to avoid most of that, but it's not going to help you on these last phases. You're just going to have to learn the timing for the jumps, and that's pretty much the best advice I can tell you on that one. Is just you've got to understand that when he's going to attack, and you've got to understand when to jump. And if you need to, you can take the tornadoes to make it to where you can lift up and just avoid most of those shots just in general. Okay, maybe they don't actually hurt you, but there's some that do. I don't know, maybe it's just random shit. Maybe I got unlucky. I don't know. I could have sworn that they actually do damage, so I might have been wrong about that. So I guess Divine Armor does work for that. So there you go. Don't use Redemption Meter until the next phase of this fight. So once he's down now, we're going to re-equip some relics later. But starting right now, you saw my relics. Pause it if you have to. Go ahead, use Redemption Meter. You take less damage and you do more damage and you do faster attacks. See how I'm actually still taking damage while using cross attacks? That's because if you use cross attacks on him normally, he'll block you, he'll flash you, and you'll take damage from it. And I'm actually still taking that damage, except, well, since I'm using Divine Armor right now, I'm not taking that damage. But since I'm not using Divine Armor in those sections with cross attacks with Redemption Meter, I'm going so fast that his ability does not affect me, but I'm still taking a small amount of damage. But yeah, so right there, if you cross attack him, he's just going to flash you without Redemption Meter on. So make sure you have that. Now the next phase. So this one's going to be a little bit more irritating to go through. Also, real quick, you do not have to completely kill him in this fight. I know this fight takes, like, forever. I know it does, but you don't have to kill him. Also, unequip the cross attack upgrade relic and equip the one that gives you faster Redemption Meter build-up rate. That way, you can start building your Redemption Meter as fast as you possibly can to get that next 1 bar. That's what we're trying to go for here. So, Just stay on his ass, learn the patterns of, like, parries, which all 3 of those attacks can be parried. And typically he sometimes goes for that 4th attack, even if you do parry, so just be careful of that. At least if I remember correctly, I think he does. I could be wrong, but if I remember correctly, I think he does go for that 4th sometimes. That one right there, I think is unblockable, but it can be parried if you have that relic attached. The one where you can block unblockables, but that might not actually be the case. I might be wrong about that one too. I think I tested that actually. I don't think it worked. Regardless, just stay on him with scythe attacks, because as you can see, scythe attacks they don't necessarily do like a lot of damage, but they're just enough to the point where they keep him kind of going on his toes, and know when to use divine armor too. Just use it when you actually, take damage and when you need it. But try not to use it too often, so that way you can kind of save it, your magic, for when you really truly need it. You do get magic back every time you put him in a spot where he has to launch back, but that's still not enough to get it. And having those upgrades for magic that are still left open, if you have any, those will also come in handy. You don't need them, but they will come in handy. But Chiako's Bile is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly important for this fight. It's one of those ones I think you find in Gluttony when you're talking to Virgil, so make sure you talk to Virgil to get that Chiako's Bile, because you'll pretty much need it, unless you want to run DLC relics, and probably that might help you, I don't know. I'm not. I'm running basic relics, so yeah, I approve that even I can do it. But as you can see, since I have that Redemption Meter build-up relic, I'm allowed access to eventually get bar number 1, so I can just start, rinse, slather, repeat the same things again. This phase of the fight, by the way, also if you get to this phase, you have a checkpoint, so you're good. I'd say the first main fight is probably the hardest. Definite one of the hardest, yes. This one right here, not too much. The one after it, also not too much, but they're still incredibly dangerous. And again, keeping on him with scythe attacks and just making sure you know when to parry is important, or knowing when to block. Just go for the parries. Don't even worry about going for a block. Just go for that parry. You need it. And then once you've got your redemption meter back, start, whipping him down again. I don't know why I'm using the scythe. Cross attacks work better. And try not to buy the final upgrade for the cross. The ending lag for the animation is just too long. I know it slows down the game, but it just feels like it's just too long. And I'd rather just have the ability of going back into my cross combo again from the start. Immediately after that 4th hit is just something worthwhile having. And as you can see, I'm just basically just using Divine Armor whenever I get the chance, or whenever I feel like I'm about to get destroyed. If he teleports away, he's going to do this slam attack. Just Divine Armor through it. You can protect through most of it. And funny enough, he actually misses a lot of his attacks. I don't know why. I think that's just a game thing that he does. Height difference, because Dante's actually kind of small in comparison. But then again, Dante's probably about, like, close to 6 foot. Who knows? And Lucifer is just really tall, so there's that. Also, don't be discouraged by his cock size. Don't let that discourage you. But you've got this. So just, keep on him. Keep going with those parry attacks. And again, you don't have to completely kill him. And I'd say, like, less than a minute, we're going to get to the next phase. So if that gives you an idea of how long it takes to beat him down, then there you go. So yeah, just know which attacks to avoid, essentially. Have that mana regeneration going on at all times. And then after your second bar of Redemption Meter, I would suggest, when you're in Redemption Meter for the second time, re-equip the cross attack upgrade and just use cross attacks. But then after that, yeah. Also, these right here, I don't think they can be parried. I don't think those attacks can be parried, as far as I'm aware. Maybe they can, but I don't think so. But in a few seconds, we're going to get to the next phase where he's going to start flying. So, again, you don't have to get him down to full, complete death. You just have to get him down to a certain threshold. And then once you do that, you should get a checkpoint, because the game is nice like that. This one's a little weird. So every once in a while, you can get 5 hits. Now, the only way to truly get 5 hits is if you put him in, like, a specific stun. This attack right here, just learn the pattern of when he's going to attack with it. That's going to help you majorly. If you learn when to dodge those attacks and get them all down, then you'll be able to just get up here and hit him. Now, if you're using Divine Armor while he's doing it, you can jump up and hit him while he's using it. Also, if you ever see R1 pop up, just try to take it, because for the most part, you can kind of just dodge through most of these attacks, which is kind of nice. It just gives you free iframes for the most part. Let's see. So when he does those fireball attacks, just R1 through them, and then you'll be okay. Or just dodge toward him to avoid them. And again, these things I don't think can be parried, but Just Divine Armor, run up to him, or jump up to him and just smack him a few times. This fight is incredibly annoying because every time like you hit him, he just kind of like dodges away. And that's because the game wants you to kind of wait for a certain point. I think they want you to wait for him to finish off that combo and then grab him to get like a 5-hit combo on him. But I'm impatient as hell. Also, don't forget that you can block in air and then fast fall. So if you want to get down to the ground faster to make this a lot easier on yourself, that's one thing you can do. But just stick it out. No matter how long it takes, just stick it out. That's the best thing I can tell you. Don't use cross attacks, just stick with sides. And I think no matter how far you are, you can still kind of grapple up to him. But yeah, after he finishes off that combo is when you can get like a few good hits on him, which is nice. And that's it. The third and final phase of his, the one where he's flying in the air, is relatively one of the easiest. Also, whatever you do, don't screw this part up. Because if you screw this part up, I think you have to start not the entire thing over, but just that third final fight over. And that's definitely something you don't want to start over. So hopefully, I mean, my commentary might not have been the best, but hopefully I was capable of guiding you guys through this final boss fight without using DLC. Yeah, that's right. No DLC relics or nothing. This is all basic relics that you get throughout the game. This is all basic upgrades you get throughout the game. No extra 10,000 souls, none of that. So, yeah. Take praise, because you did it. If you beat him now, that's it. You did it. So, woo! Alright. Holy heck. Moly. Dante's Inferno. Alright, let's go over the details that I'm sure a lot of people love to hear. What are my thoughts? This game's great. This game is underrated. It's great. It deserves a sequel. It deserves all the praise it ever gets. It's just amazing. It's lovely. It's awesome. It's a bit short. There's some parts I don't like I'm not a big fan of Lust and yada, yada, yada. But for the most part, yeah. In terms of difficulty, though, getting to the final boss is not that hard, but the final boss itself is hard. Now, also keep in mind I was using non-DLC stuff, too, so you probably could make your life a little easier if you had them. I'm not going to fault you for using them. I'm just saying that for me personally, I'd like to give people the option to use it. So you can see that I'm using basic stuff, and then you could take that for your own information to be like, okay, he's using basic stuff. Then I can use better stuff and then have it possibly easier time. So yeah. In terms of difficulty out of 10, I think Ninja Gaiden Sigma, I think an 8. And I gave Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma a 7, because it wasn't as hard. Where would this game lie? I think this game's a flat 7, because I think a lot of the game is pretty easy for the most part. Maybe it's a 6 out of 10. This is a hard one, because the final boss is completely an ass wrecker. But that's just one part of it. It took me an hour to beat him, an hour and a half to beat him. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's incredibly difficult. It just means it took me a long time to beat him. This is a hard one to rank because most of the game is kind of, if you're using a cheese and using cross attacks, you can get through it with some relative ease. I'd say because of the final boss itself, it's a good 7 out of 10. It makes up for a lot of the difficulty by far. Especially considering the fact you can't really use cross attacks much, but I don't know, maybe it is a 6, maybe it is a 5. I kind of don't want to give it a 6. I think a 7 might be too high, but I think a 5's too low. And a 6 is just a little bit too low too, I don't know. At least for the final boss. I'll give it a flat 7. We'll give it a flat 7 out of 10. I think it's a hard game when you don't know exactly what to do. When you're relying on things outside of quote-unquote cheeses and stuff like that, or noob tactics as they call them. But yeah, other than that, this is a really hard game. It took me a while to beat, but doing this new playthrough, it didn't take too long, thankfully. Great game. Recommend playing it, especially if you're a hack and slash lover. Now, in terms of what's next, this is another thing I'm sure people like to hear. Right now, I've already kind of spoiled it anyway, but I'll just tell you guys. I've been going through Splatterhouse, no upgrade run. I am using the abilities that you unlock, but I'm not upgrading anything. So I took a poll. People said, it's okay. use Berserker, use Siphon, and I assume, because I kind of forgot you get Slash and you get Smash, but those are basically like the Siphon stuff, so you unlock them. The game gives them to you, so I just kind of said, okay, well, if my audience says it's fine to use them for a no upgrade run, then it's fine. And right now I'm up to like phase 10 out of 12, so I'm doing pretty good for myself. And I hope that's the next one. Originally it was going to be Transformers, but I just don't want to do it right now. And then after that, it's Chains of Olympus. And after that is a big break. So, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you all for whatever's next. If I don't end up being able to finish the NUR, the no upgrade run, I will let you know on the post for the community tab. So, check there every once in a while if you don't hear from me or don't see anything for a good while. I'd say, like, if you don't hear anything for a couple weeks, that's probably a good time to check. But yeah, other than that, hopefully this was of quality and to your enjoyment, and I hope to see you all for the next guide and run and all that other fun stuff. So, yeah, take care, everybody.